Hello and welcome back to Whiskey Wars. My name is Sean and tonight we'll be reviewing Benchmark Full Proof. Let's get into it. Alright, so here's our bottle for this evening, Benchmark Full Proof. Now of course, Benchmark has a full line of Benchmark products, starting with just the standard Benchmark, which is the 80 proofer, kind of budget line, like around $8, on up to this guy, which is the Full Proof, which is 125 proof, and around the $30 price point, which of course means it will be in our $30-ish bourbon bracket coming up in March. So, let's see what this thing is about, but before we do that, quick history of Buffalo Trace, which is the company that puts this out. Now, of course, Buffalo Trace is the only distillery in the nation that continually has been making bourbon in the same location for over 200 years, even through Prohibition, which makes it a historic landmark. Now, Buffalo Trace gets its namesake, Buffalo Trace, or the Buffalo Traces, from the paths that the bison or buffalo would cross near the Kentucky River. Now, of course, the Lee brothers would start a distillery in this area, and of course, it has been handed down through the Colonel Blanton and Colonel E.H. Taylor, and all kinds of very famous big names over the years. But nonetheless, it brought us to this bottle right here today. So let's get into this bottle, and let's see if Buffalo Trace can make a good budget barrel proof or barrel proof-ish. That was kind of a heavier pour than I needed, and especially it being full proof, it will be an interesting review. Let's get into it though. So first, on the nose, let's see what we got. Really get this thing spun up here. Man, just rich caramel. I mean, just super sweet smelling, just candy in the glass. Got some candy corn, and by the way, I don't like candy corn, but I like the smell of candy corn. But so you got that candy corn smell. Nice rich caramel. Smells very desserty. Nice vanilla. Maybe just a hint of like a milk chocolate in there. It almost smells like a caramel sundae. Now, I will say there's not a huge depth of flavors, but the flavors you are getting on the nose are very nice. There is certainly the brown sugar, vanilla, typical bourbon nose, you know, your toasted oaks, charred oaks. Not a lot of char though on this. Just lots and lots of sweetness. Really sweet nose. Very approachable nose. And even though this is 125 proof, not real sharp on the nose, surprisingly. Very subdued, just very sweet, easy to smell. All right, let's get into our first sip. Here we go. Now, to the best of my knowledge, this is the Buffalo Trace Mash Bill 1. So for those of you that are out there that really care about the Buffalo Trace Mash Bills, as far as I know, that's what it is. Now, this is a very young version of that, though. And you certainly get that on the palate. There is slight hints of that kind of grassy hay note. It's not overwhelming by any means, but it's definitely there. And that's kind of front of the palate, just right as it hits your tongue, you get those kind of sour, grassy hay notes. But then mid-palate, you get a really nice, just sweet caramel, little bits of brown sugar. There's a slight hint of cinnamon there for sure. A really nice vanilla. And then also you get those nice kind of toasted oak notes as it kind of works its way over your tongue, kind of going towards the finish. Then a little bit of char comes into play in the back there. Actually, let's go in for one more sip here, and we're going to focus on the back of the palate and the finish. So before we go into those second set of tasting notes, folks, if you're enjoying the review, please hit that like button, and if you're really enjoying them, please subscribe. We got plenty more reviews coming, and plenty more that have already been put out. Now to these tasting notes. Let's focus on that back of the palate and the finish. So back of the palate, you get just a really explosion of sweetness. Just lots of caramel, brown sugar, just hints and hints of cinnamon in there. And then it goes into just a kind of a general sweetness, maybe a little caramel on the finish. And it takes 2 or 3 seconds, and then that barrel spice comes in. You start to get just hints of black pepper, a little bit of cinnamon, just to give you a little bit of heat. And you get that nice Kentucky hug down in here. kind of warms your chest up. You know, all in all, I gotta say, for this being a budget barrel proof-ish, I mean, it's basically barrel proof, 125 proof, bottle of bourbon, not disappointing at all. It's very approachable. It's not super sharp or pointy, spiky. The whole palate is very smooth, even though I kind of hate using that word, but it is just very easy on the tongue, even though it's 125 proof. So if you folks have this in your area, and I know that it is hard to find in some states. I mean, some states I guess don't carry it at all. But if you are in a state where you do see this, I think it's worth a buy. I think it's a great budget barrel proof. I would put it up there with the old Granddad's 114s and the Chattanooga 111s. And we'll see how those all fare once we get to our budget $30-ish bracket. So in the meantime though, let's rate this one. So I think this is well above average, and remember average is a 5, so we're going up from there. I'm gonna say I really did enjoy this. I was surprised how much I do enjoy it. It is a little bit youthy on the front end, but I think the rest of the palate and the nose and the finish really make up for that. So I'm gonna go 7.2. I think it's absolutely a buy, especially at around $29, $30. Why not give it a try? So it's a recommend for me. And folks, again, if you are enjoying their video, then please hit that like button. And if you're really enjoying them, please subscribe. And if you want to see more from me, we got more reviews right here. And here's a subscribe button, so I made it real easy for you. And until next time, folks, just remember, you can never have too much good whiskey.